Hello, this is Fred, your friendly neighborhood realtor here in Orlando, Florida. Today I'm going to talk to you about the hidden cost of home ownership. Hey, you just bought your first home and you're all excited and everything else because it's your place. It's where you call home now. You're not paying the landlord and everything else. Well, guess what though? There are going to be some hidden costs you need to think about when you have that home. And we're going to kind of go over a few of them just so for you to think about. Now, for starters, you're not going to have a rent payment, but you are going to have a mortgage payment. And depending also on what type of mortgage program you've got, for example, if it is an FHA and you did with the 3.5% down or even the 10% down, you're going to have mortgage insurance. And you're going to have to make sure that that is paid as well. It's going to be lumped in with your mortgage, unless of course you did a prepay on the mortgage insurance. But then you're going to have to come up with some more money there. Now, conventional, that's another thing that you're going to have to, if you have less than 20% down, you're going to have mortgage insurance as well. Now, if you're a veteran and you do the VA loan, you guys are set. You don't have to worry about it. You can do as little as 0% down and you don't have to worry about mortgage insurance. But you're still going to have that mortgage payment, and that's going to be your principal and interest and plus any other costs that you built into. So look at your annual percentage rate, your APR. Make sure you look at that because it very well may be different. Say you got a 7% mortgage or interest rate, but then your APR may be a little bit higher. So you need to really kind of look at that. The other thing to think about, and this will usually be grouped in where you actually pay it as well with your mortgage, but it's going to be a part of that payment that you're going to make, and that's going to be potentially your property taxes. Now, you think, okay, property taxes, what's that for? Well, you see your schools, you see your police, your fire, all the other things, road upkeep, your sewage systems that are outside of your property. Those are what's going to be incorporated within your property taxes. So there's going to be a lot that's going to come in through there that you're going to need to pay for. So your parks, everything else, that's going to come in for your property taxes. And that you do need to potentially have. It could be several hundreds of dollars, depending on where you are, the value of your home, because it's based on the assessed value of your home. The other thing to think about is when you were potentially renting, or say you were at home with mom and dad or whatever. But when you were renting, you may not need to pay for your water. You probably paid for your electricity, but that's going to potentially be more expensive now. If you have a single family home, and that's going to mean all four walls are exposed to the outside elements. So that means you're going to have to cool or heat all of that. So if you're in a townhome, it gets a little bit less. If you're in a condo, okay, potentially a little bit less. But the utilities are what you're going to have to pay for. Your water, your electric. Don't forget your internet. If you're going to want internet at your home, then you're going to need to have internet, whatever that will be. And then also, for those persons that are interested, you may also want cable, whether it be your satellite dish or your local cable company that comes in and gives you the TV channels and everything else. That's going to be strictly up to you. That's kind of optional, but that's depending upon you. All right, homeowners insurance, and this is another thing that's going to be an expense, but it's also going to usually be tied in with your mortgage payment because they're going to group that in together. Now here in Florida, homeowners insurance has gotten quite expensive due to a lot of the hurricanes and those types of things that we have here. Plus with the rise of the housing costs, of course, that's going to push the insurance costs higher and everything else, but that's a whole nother subject and a whole nother video. But keep in mind, your homeowner's insurance, you're going to need to cover that unit, townhome, or your single family home. The other thing to think about is this. When you were renting, you didn't have to worry about this, but maintenance and repairs. Okay, your dishwasher breaks down. You got two options. You're either gonna have somebody come in and fix it, or you're gonna have to buy another one. And even if you buy another one, can you change that out? So that's going to be another question. You're going to have to figure that out. Now that's just an example, but then you've got your flooring, you've got your window coverings and lights. Those are things that are going to need to sometimes be updated. Sometimes, I personally have had to replace light switches, lights, different things here in the home that just come part of home ownership and you don't even really think about it. Now, another thing to think about, especially if you have a family, is security systems. Do you want a security system? Look, this day and time, even the safest homes are being broken into. You have people coming in. You may want to choose that you have a security system in your home. If you do, that's going to be an expense. The other thing of it is we talked about those maintenance and repairs. If you're changing out that light switch or whatever, do you have the tools? If you got to fix a hole in the wall there, do you have the tools? Do you have the materials? So there's going to be little things that they kind of add up from time to time. The other thing of it is emergency costs. And this will go in also with your maintenance and repairs, what we just talked about. Things will break. But what if it's a water pipe? Somebody's got to fix that. Your AC, your water heater. Whether you're just going to need to replace it or fix it could depend. Such things as your AC, periodically, look, your AC is going to only last so long. Same thing with your water heater. So you may get lucky and it may last you a number of years, but then again, you may need to replace it at some point in time. I remember when I bought my first condo, I looked around and I saw that everybody, half the units had all had new ACs. Half of them didn't. I bought a unit that didn't have their AC replacement. Within that first year, and in the summertime in Florida, the AC broke. It died. I needed to replace it. So you want to be prepared for that. And depending on the size of your home, because it's going to depend on the size of air conditioning you're going to need, that could be quite an expense. We're talking 5, 6, 7,000 homes. It could be, if you've got a good sized home, it could be over $10,000 for your air conditioning. If it's a split level, you may actually have 2 units. So, you could have one break, next year the next one breaks. So either way, it's going to be expenses that you need to think about. And it's just going to be all part of home ownership. Now, these are things basically inside your home, but what about outside your home? Depending on what size home you have and how big of a yard you have lawn maintenance. Now, are you going to cut it yourself? And if so, do you have a lawnmower? Do you have the weed eater to trim the edges and make it all nice and neat and clean and everything else? Or are you going to pay somebody? Now, here in Florida, that's almost a year-round expense. And a lot of times what the guys do is they just charge one fee for every month. And they may not come as much in the wintertime as they do in the summertime, but you're still paying, and they're still going to come in here every couple of weeks because we do even get grass growing even when it gets a little cooler out here. So, depends on where you are. But at the same time, is that guy also going to take care of your trees? Florida, we have all these palm trees and we have trees, and everybody has trees. But see, the palm trees, they grow nice and tall. Well, periodically those frontons need to be cut. Well, trees usually a lot taller than you're going to have a ladder for, and do you really want to climb up on that ladder? So you're going to have to pay somebody to come and take care of that. So those are things that you need to think about. Your lawn maintenance in general, you just need to think about it. Am I going to do it, or is somebody else going to do it? And am I going to have the time to do it? So those are all things for you to think about. Now, depending, no matter where you are, you've got a driveway. Even if it's concrete, it's gonna develop cracks. And once you get one crack, it's just gonna get bigger and bigger. So you're either gonna have to kind of do a patch on it, just keep it from getting bigger, or you potentially at some point in time are either gonna need to re-pour, or depending on your neighborhood. I know with the neighborhood that I live in, a lot of people that have concrete have switched over to actually, now they're getting pavers put in, but either way, that's an expense that you are going to have to pay. If it's asphalt, well, asphalt, depending on where you are, pretty much is going to need to be sealed every year. And then occasionally you're still going to get a little bit of a pothole from just some settlement in the dirt, just like with concrete settlement. Boom, it turns around, then you got a hole. Guess what? You got to fix that. Or you got to pay somebody to fix that. So think about that one. And if you think, okay, hey, look, I'm going to do it real easy. I'm just going to have a rock driveway. Even that's going to need to be gone over. I had family members that have property up in the Carolinas, and they have a gravel driveway, but yet they periodically have to go over it just to kind of smooth it out because it's still going to develop the holes, the ruts, and everything else. So it's still going to require a little bit of work. Okay, so if you're up north, say New York, or even in the Midwest, Minnesota, those types of places, what's going to happen when it's snow season? Do you want to remove it yourself? Make sure you have that shovel, and make sure you're going to have the rock salt or something to put down on there to kind of help break up the ice that may be underneath. But either way, if not, then you're going to have to pay somebody. You either got to have it and do it yourself, and trust me, I remember as a kid doing some show snow, and it ain't easy. So those are just things to think about. Other thing of it, everywhere you live is curb appeal. Now, your wife a lot of times she wants all the flowers and everything looking nice and everything else. Well, with that, you're going to have potentially annuals that you're going to put in. That means in the springtime, you're going to come in and you're going to put nice little flowers down and everything else. Now, you're going to wind up doing the work, or you're going to pay somebody. But either way, you're still going to need to buy the flowers, even if you do the work. So those are also things to think about. The mulch, the walkways. If you periodically may have to replace the mailbox depending on where you live, whether you go walk to where they have the community boxes, or whether the mailman comes to right out front of your place and drops it off. Well, periodically that mailbox may need to be replaced, especially depending on the materials. Depending on if you had kids that drove by with a hammer as they drove by and they knocked off your mailbox. I had that happen as a kid. I haven't had it so much happen here because I go to a community mailbox. But either way, you're gonna need something there, and it's gonna be an expense. If you have a deck, a pool, anything of that nature, it's still going to require maintenance. It's going to require upkeep. Your pool, you've got to keep the chemicals just right in there. You got to keep that filtration system going. You may have to drain some water out, and periodically you may have to put water in it. It's going to affect your water bill. So you got to think about that. If you got a deck, okay, it's going to have to be resealed periodically. You got to keep that sealer up or anything else to make sure it looks nice. Patio, I can remember the patio I had in that condo developed a leak in the roof there. Well, I cheated. I went up and I took care of put some sealant down, because periodically that sealant that you have is going to dry rot, and therefore it's going to develop a leak. So I took care of it that way. But either way, somebody's going to have to do it. What if you can't do it? Then somebody else is going to have to do it, and you're still going to have to get the materials for it. So there's going to be costs within there. So, and while we're talking about some of the pool, the deck, and everything else, but what about your home exterior? Paint on a home is only going to last so long. If it's a wood home, about 5 to 7 years. If it's stucco, potentially a little longer, about 10 years roughly, or anything else like that, but it's going to need to be painted. It's going to need to be updated. Excuse me. What if you get into that home and your wife says she doesn't like the exterior color? And you got to get it painted. Are you going to do it yourself, or is somebody else going to do it for you? So you're going to have a little bit of expense. And no matter where you live in the United States, Canada, anywhere on this earth, potentially you're going to want pest control. Have that guy come around monthly just to make sure all the cobwebs are off the eaves, and also that you've sprayed around the exterior so the bugs don't get inside, and have some spraying going on inside just to keep what gets inside, to try to stop it right there. You're going to need that expense. Now, if you're becoming overwhelmed and think, okay, wait a minute, do I really want to buy a house? Truthfully, yes. And I don't say that just because I'm a realtor. I say that because, you know, having been in homes, to me, it's a great thing. And also, you got to look at your long-term investment because your home values you typically appreciate. So where you buy something today for, you know, say 400,000, if you stay in that home as your kids grow up and you stay in that home for say 20, 30 years, at that point it could be worth way over $1 million. It all depends on the appreciation rate in your neighborhood and everything in your area. But either way, it is still a great investment. Now, down below, make sure you click like for our video. That way you will also find our information on how to contact us if we can help you with any real estate needs. While you're down there, if you have any comments to make reference to this video or anything and you say, hey, wait a minute, what about this? Or, you know, something that you can potentially add, make sure you leave it down in the comments section so that other people also get notified or they get informed of what they can expect. I think I've basically covered most things. I'm sure there's going to be some things that I've forgotten or did not cover. I tried to make this to where it kind of covers all the north, south, and everything else, even though I'm here in Florida. But, you know, if there's something I have left off, make sure you put it down in the comments because we want other people to know. Like I said, our contact information is down below if we can help you with any of your real estate needs. And while you're down there, make sure you hit like. We already talked about that. Subscribe so you know when I'm going to be coming up with new videos, and also the bell notification so when those new videos come out, you get notified so that you can also listen to them. All right. Thank you and have a good day.